everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be doing a review of Thorn Abbey by Nancy Ohlin. This is a book I read on pulsefit.com, so I don't have a physical copy to show you, but I'll go ahead and put a picture of the cover here. So Thorn Abbey is a YA book, and it's a kind of contemporary reimagining of the 1938 original novel Rebecca by Daphne Maurier. Now, Rebecca is an adult romantic suspense novel, and it was written, like I said, in 1938. They made a movie of the book starring Sir Laurence Olivier, which you can actually look for on YouTube. You can find a full version of it to watch. It's an excellent book-to-movie adaptation. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the storyline of Rebecca, I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis for you on the back. And it begins with the very first sentence of the book. Last night, I dreamt I went to Manderley again. With these words, the reader is ushered into an isolated gray stone mansion on the windswept Cornish coast, as the second Mrs. Maxim de Winter recalls the chilling events that transpired as she began her new life as the young bride of a husband she barely knew. For in every corner of every room were phantoms of a time dead but not forgotten, a past devotedly preserved by the sinister housekeeper Mrs. Danvers, a suite immaculate and untouched, clothing laid out and ready to be worn, but not by any of the great house's current occupants. With an eerie presentiment of evil tightening her heart, the second Mrs. De Winter walked in the shadow of her mysterious predecessor, determined to uncover the darkest secrets and shattering truths about Maxim's first wife, the late and hauntingly beautiful Rebecca. So the first chapter is pretty much a dream sequence, and then the rest of the book is our main character, the second Mrs. De Winter, kind of remembering events that led up to her present day. The main protagonist remains unnamed throughout the entire book until she becomes married to Maxim de Winter, the 40-year-old widower who's mourning the loss of his wife, Rebecca. I'm not sure exactly why the author chose to do that, but I thought it was pretty original. It's a very well-written book, very, like I said, sinister. The housekeeper is quite devoted to her former mistress and has a way of kind of belittling our main character in this book, showing that she's not on that same level as Rebecca. And it has quite an interesting end. There's mystery and suspense. Very, very well written book. So Thorn Abbey also begins with a dream. The dream is always the same. I am walking down the path, the one that winds through the woods by Thorn Abbey and leads down to the beach. In this particular book, our narrator and main protagonist actually has a name, and her name is Tess, and she's newly arrived at this prestigious boarding school known as Thorn Abbey, and she's struck by its Gothic appearance. It's got the turrets and the high arched windows. It looks like something out of a Jane Eyre novel. And she's sort of a shy and timid. This is sort of a very prestigious school for kind of affluent kids, and she's far from being an affluent family. She has a single mom who works as a waitress. Not entirely sure it was explained how she managed to get her into this school, but she definitely feels like the odd one out here. And at the very beginning, she's introduced to her new roommate, Devin, who at first seems very nice, but as the story progresses, kind of seems a bit rude to her, I thought. On her first night, Tess hears crying in the room, and she thinks it's Devin, but Devin is fast asleep. Later on, she hears her deep in conversation, and she looks around. There's no one else in the room, and Devin's phone is on the nightstand. So there's these weird kind of things going on. There's little supernatural sort of events that take place throughout the book, which it would have been nice to see more of to make it a little bit more creepier, but it definitely has a little bit of a creepy feel to it. Devin introduces Tess to her friends. There's Priscilla, Eleanor, and Euni, kind of strange names. We also later meet Franklin. He was kind of a nice boy throughout the storyline. He's probably one of the nicest kids at Thorn Abbey. And then he introduces Tess to his roommate, Max. And she's immediately drawn to Max. He's sort of a quiet, brooding character. He seems a bit of an outsider as well, oddly. So she's drawn to him because of that. They have that similar kind of odd one out kind of feel to it. And she comes to learn that Max is actually in mourning over the death of his girlfriend a year earlier. She died in a drowning accident. And everyone raves about how much in love the two were. Particularly Devin. Devin was Max's late girlfriend's roommate. Max's girlfriend was named Becca. So Devin and Becca were roommates, and Devin just keeps talking about how perfect this girl was, how smart, how beautiful. She pretty much implies that Tess could never even compete with Becca's memory. Despite everyone's warning, stay away from Max, she's very drawn to him, and eventually the two start to date. And things kind of get in their way, not just Becca's old friends, Devon, but other things seem to try to keep the two apart. The book has a really nice contemporary feel to it. I think the author did a very good job of sort of recreating Manderley in the form of Thorn Abbey with its Gothic appearance. It's up on a cliff near the seaside. It has that same kind of feel to it. Tess is similarly shy and timid like the main character from the original novel, with this one exception that she actually has a name. Tess, rather, like I said, she doubts that she is worthy to be even with Max because she doesn't feel on the same level. She's constantly spends, I think, a majority of the book sort of looking into the past of Becca and finding out more about her and Max's relationship, about how she died. She just gets a little OCD about it, too. Devon happens to have Becca's old laptop, which she loans to Tess because Tess doesn't have one, and she sees some files in there, and she just can't help but sort of poke in there and look around and try and find out more about Becca. Max is pretty much cut from the same cloth as the original Maxim in this book. He's, like I said, the quiet, brooding, very uncommunicative type character. And Devon, Tess's roommate, not quite on par with Mrs. Danvers, the demented housekeeper and overly devoted housekeeper in this novel. She is very devoted to her old friend, but like I said, she definitely brings the creepy factor into the book, but not quite on the same level as the original Mrs. Danvers here. There's, like I said, it just does a very good job of recreating this world in a contemporary setting. The beginning of Thorn Abbey is a lot about Tess's feeling of inadequacy and not quite fitting in and just trying to find her role in in this new society, you might say, for her. The latter half of the book definitely picks up the pace. It gets a little bit more creepier, a little bit more supernatural elements kind of popping into it. It has quite a good finish that I actually didn't really expect the way it was going to end, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I definitely recommend picking this one up, and once you read that, you're probably going to want to read Rebecca, or the other way around, read Rebecca first, and then go ahead and read Thorn Abbey. It's made me want to pick this novel up again and reread it, because it's been quite some time since I've visited Manderley. So I definitely recommend both books, actually, and I gave Thorn Abbey 4 out of 5 stars. I'd probably give Rebecca 5 out of 5 stars, but definitely go ahead and check those out, and hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.